Today is Monday, September 14th, and this is a post-market review for the stock market activities. Today, here is the agenda of the day. We're going to have an important discussion in the futures market and the political implications of the price action in the futures market. So stay tuned for that one. We also have interesting headlines to cover today, the whole TikTok saga and then the Nikola saga, which is getting crazier by the minute. And of course, we do have charts today. We're going to cover the SPY, the Qs, the VIX, the dollar index, and Tesla. So here we go. The Dow Industrial Average closing in the green, a gain of 327.69 points or 1.18%. The Nasdaq in the green, 203.11 points or 1.87%. S&P 500 in the green, 42.57 points or a gain of 1.27%. Checking on the sector's performance, real estate leading the day with the gold medal for real estate. The silver goes to technology and the bronze to healthcare. All sectors managed to close in the green today. The market breadth was a lot better than the days and weeks before. And moving on to the futures market, there is a lot of price action following the upcoming elections, of course, and all the pieces of the chess taking place. Case in point, of course, we do have ethanol rallying for a few days now. And of course, we know the news that the Trump administration is fixing favorable rules for the use of ethanol to win the vote of corn farmers in the Midwest. And you saw the prices of corn exploding higher. Add to that, of course, to the shortage of corn, and corn been rallying impulsively the last few weeks. And you see ethanol rallying again today. Lumber closing in the green, rallying again, continuing the rebound higher. Metals with a modest rally here, with exception to palladium. Cattle making some gains today, and of course, soybean products. What you're seeing right here, of course, is the new session started, but the session that we had today, soybean closing in the green. And of course, I do have one futures trade right now. We talked about this a few days ago in soybean oil. Here's a chart of soybean oil, the contract, the continuous contract. And of course, I opened contracts due to the news of the surge in Chinese purchasing from soybean farmers in the States. And of course, technical wise, we've seen the wedgish, the bullish wedgish formation. And I opened some contracts in soybean oil, and you see the explosion higher from the wedge. And today I closed them all at a profit, and I will wait for new opportunities. And of course, leading the decliners of the day is coffee. Coffee got hit very, very hard today, down over 7% at some point. And the reason, of course, due to the rain anticipation in Arabica farms in Brazil. So the farmers closing their contracts, selling their contracts before the rain hits and damages the crops. We could see a rebound in coffee, but you gotta give it a few days to find some support. And of course, lean hogs, after a really impressive rally, giving up a little bit. And we know about the disease in Germany, and now China banned the imports of pigs from Germany, and they're making more purchases from US farmers. Add the picture together. Trump making favorable ethanol rules to support corn farmers. China buying soybeans in a big way, in a big surge recently. And of course, now purchasing more hogs and pork from our farmers. And you can see that the stage is being set for Trump to win the Midwestern vote, at least in the farmers' demographic. So if you thought that the futures market is boring, think again. And moving on to the casino, the options market. How did the tables do today? Of course, the market rallied, and we see the reversal back from gamblers to buying call options again. Apple leading the day, 1.8 million options traded today. About 73% of those were calls. Tesla with 1 million options traded today. 63.5% were calls. And coming at number 3, Nikola, Coca-Cola, with 483,000 contracts traded today. 46% of those are calls. Now, if you watched my market preview in the morning, I told you that I'm buying calls in the morning for Nikola. I did buy those, and Nikola surged. The profit was over 100%. I closed those at the end of the day. I was tempted to keep them, but thankfully I did the right thing and I closed them because after hours, you're hearing, of course, that the SEC is now launching an official probe against Nikola and the shares dropped again. Now, I don't know if the shares are going to recover again tomorrow, but the stock is becoming very, very volatile. And the gamblers who bought puts on Friday got smoked today. So they switch to calls at the end of the day. They're probably going to get roasted tomorrow. Back and forth, because this is how gambling ends. If you're going to take a wild shot, do what I did. You go in, out quickly. You make your buck, you make your vig, in, out, hello, goodbye. We will discuss more about Nikola when we talk about the headlines because there are a lot of developments that happened throughout the day. Now, let's check the change of open interest. And you can see the increases in contracts happened mostly in Apple stock, at least the notable ones for the 120. Of course, this is the anticipation of tomorrow's event. Now, the decrease in open interest mostly happened in Facebook, and you saw that Facebook lagged today. It didn't rally along with Apple and Tesla, Nvidia, and other tech names. So it is notable. Maybe we'll see continuing weakness in Facebook. And now, moving on to the headlines that shaped the day. Beginning, of course, with the whole TikTok saga. We found out over the weekend yesterday that Microsoft is out, Oracle is in. But don't count your chickens yet because China is responding and they're saying this is not acceptable, not for Microsoft, not for Oracle, not for anything. We will not allow TikTok to be broken. But for now, and the deal is very shady and very slimy, very swampy, but this is not anything new about this administration and how they make deals. Oracle founder Larry Ellison is a big supporter of Donald Trump and a big donor. Trump made no secret that he supports Larry Ellison and Oracle in the TikTok deal. He announced that way before. So sometimes this guy slips and tells the truth, and it was expected that Oracle will win the contract, or lack thereof. There is no contract. It's a very shady deal. And why the hell is Oracle very interested in TikTok? I don't have an answer, but I think that the founder of Oracle, Larry Ellison, he likes young people. He's very fan of staying young and being youthful. So maybe that's why Oracle is interested in buying TikTok. Of course, Larry's 70-something years old, and his girlfriend is in her 20s, and when they met, she was 19, but she had a Russian passport that says she's 19, and maybe she was a little younger. I'm not saying anything, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, I'm just saying it's a little weird. But hey, maybe Larry just likes them young, and he likes young people, and he wants to save TikTok for younger people. That's all. There's nothing more to it. Moving on, more corporate news. We have Nvidia buying ARM, the chip designer, from SoftBank for about $40 billion. The stock market, of course, is invaded and occupied by zombie traders, gamblers who will rejoice and celebrate any news without any critical thinking whatsoever. Nvidia's entire cash position last year was about $10 billion. So they're paying over $40 billion to acquire this company, which is not set in stone yet. There are a lot of regulations to bypass before the deal is done. Call me old school, but back in the day when a company spends an insane amount of cash to acquire another company, usually the stock goes down because the company's taking an expense and it's not clear yet whether that's going to pay out or not. Investors like cash and they like growth in the company. But we are living in a market, of course, occupied by these zombie traders. And what do you know? They piled in the name Nvidia, buying it, and Nvidia surged significantly today. Even though they're going to spend a ton of cash to buy this one company, which Nvidia really didn't need. Nvidia was growing organically on its own, and they were generating cash and keeping more cash in their balance sheet. So the natural reaction would have been a sell-off in Nvidia. But again, the zombified trader will buy in any news, buying TikTok, buying ARM, buying Leg, buying anything. If it is marketed as good news, they will pile in and stampede and buy the stock. The thinking comes later, of course, after the stock sells off. And of course, we do have more corporate news here from Delta Airlines securing about $6.5 billion in loans and financing from the private market. And this is very important because the airlines don't need another bailout. Money's cheap, interest rates are almost zero. The Fed has an ocean of liquidity available for them to take loans. They've been gambling the last few years, using their profits in executive bonuses and share buybacks. Let them take loans. No more taxpayer money for these bastards. And moving on to more corporate news. Caesars and DraftKings are now collaborating with ESPN for sports gambling. I have a lot of traders asking me, what do you think about DraftKings? Is it a good investment, bad investment? To me, it is a no-brainer. We live in a degenerate gambling society. We gamble on options, stocks, football, horses, dogs. A couple of guys flipping a coin down the street will place a bet on that. So DraftKings is a no-brainer. I just wish that the name would drop 20-30% so I can buy it cheaper and keep it in my long-term holdings. And the last bit of news, of course, is the Nikola saga, and it's getting crazier by the minute. In the morning, the stock was down significantly, at least in the pre-market. It was down more than 10%. And I made a pre-market video and I said I'm buying calls because I saw the implied volatility of puts has become ridiculous. They're buying the $5 put, the $6 put, which is basically an assumption that Nikola is going to go to zero. And the implied volatility surged really high. Usually that is a sign, at least in the short term, that you could see a short covering rally. So I did buy calls. The stock surged midday and we closed them at the end. And after hours, the stock is dropping again. And what happens tomorrow is up for grabs. But this is what happened today. I said in my pre-market video that if this clown Trevor Melton keeps his mouth shut and let GM and the lawyers speak, Nikola would rally and you would see a short covering happening in the name. Exactly what happened today. Nikola released a professional statement from their lawyers, as professional as you can be given the circumstances, of course, because they admitted that the truck display that they had was fake. They basically rolled down the truck down the hill and pretended that it was hydrogen powered when the truck was a dummy. So at least they're admitting that there was staging here. And the stock recovered just a little bit upon the release of that statement. But the surge in the stock happened when General Motors CEO Mary Barra said that GM did their due diligence before making a deal with Nikola to produce the Badger pickup truck. That was a validation for certain traders to pile into the name, buy Nikola, buy calls in Nikola, and for shorts to initiate short covering. And you saw the stock rallying over 10%. However, after hours, we have the SEC launching a probe now, and Nikola stock is giving back almost everything. We will see how this ends. But if you're asking, is there another trade that we can take in Nikola? I'm not doing anything for now. I did this trade. I was lucky I got out on instinct, but I can't guarantee what's going to happen next. You could see a short covering rally again tomorrow. Stocks drop, they release another statement or whatever, and the stock rallies again. It could get hit really hard tomorrow. Who knows? But the admission that they staged the truck display by rolling it down the hill is very severe and concerning, that maybe this company is actually a fraud and they don't have any technology yet and they should not be listed in the stock market as of now. Maybe there is a blueprint for certain hydrogen technology that could happen in the future, but the company should not be listed as a stock right now. Maybe, I am not sure. It could go either way. But if we find out that Nikola is a fraud and they managed to con GM into collaborating with them, that would be on par with Theranos conning Walgreens. It's gonna be an epic story. And of course, moving on from corporate news to Washington, D.C. And we have the slimy character who calls himself the Treasury Secretary. The slimy character says now is not the time to think about budget deficits. Who the hell cares? As long as we win the elections and we rack up as much deficit as we can, pass it to the next generation, who cares? Because all they care about, of course, is lining up their own pockets and their cronies' pockets, looting the treasury, getting richer, and who cares about the country or the next generation in the years to come, as long as we get richer. And moving on to the heat map analysis, as you can see, the breadth of the market is a lot better. Certain name lag, but the majority of sectors caught a bid today. That is encouraging for now, but we need to dig a little more in the rotation trade to see where money flowed today. And when we move on to the rotation trade, here we go. You see that the names on the left, the momentum names, for the most part, rallied, specifically the cult names like Apple and Tesla. The names on the right, the comeback stocks, the reopening stocks, also caught a nice bid today. We know that the AstraZeneca vaccine trial is resumed, and this was good news for the airlines, the cruises, the hotels. They all caught a nice bid today. So I see the picture as the following. Professional investors and firms are continuing the rotation to the comeback stocks and the reopening sectors. Yet the gambling mania on some of the names on the left, Tesla, Apple, Zoom, etc. The gambling spirit is still there because the Robin Hoodiots are reverting back to what's been working for them. Betting on Apple, betting on Tesla, betting on Zoom, buying calls. This has been working for them. Why are they going to switch right now? Until, of course, they lose their money, significant amount of their money, then maybe they'll think about a rotation or putting a pause to the same behavior of just buying call options on these names, momentum names on blindfold. And moving on to the charts analysis, starting with the SPY, the S&P 500, 15 minutes chart. Nothing significantly happened today in the SPY. You saw the gap up and the consolidation, and of course the next resistance and the next destination here, if the rally continues at least for tomorrow, is 342.50. However, when we switch to the big picture, the daily chart, you can see the formation of the bear flag is continuing. So again, we talked about the micro picture being bullish for now, the macro being bearish. Likewise, when we switch to the Qs, the triple Qs, you see from a daily picture, from a big picture, that we're also forming a bear flag formation in the Qs. That will generally and traditionally end up in another or the second leg lower. However, when we switch to a 15 minutes chart, and of course following up on the discussion this morning, you see that the Qs rallied all the way to the trend line, recapturing the trend line. However, there was a midday failure where the Qs gave up the trend line and they tried to recapture it at the end of the day. However, they reversed from it. They got rejected from it, and that is bearish signal for now. Now, bear in mind the correlation between the Qs and the dollar index, because here is what happens. Switching to the dollar index from a daily chart perspective, the dollar index went down to revisit the upper limit of its bear channel that it broke in from. And when we put the magnifier on and switch to the 15 minutes chart, you can see that the dollar index went very close to the upper trend line of the bearish channel and bounced from it as expected and as I explained in the morning. This is an exact correlation. You see the Qs reaching to the trend line, reversing from it, being rejected from it, and you see the dollar index catching support from its downward trend line. If we see a continuation of that image tomorrow, well, the dollar index rallies from here, you will see the Qs declining and the correlation continues until it's not. Moving on to the VIX. The VIX from a daily perspective, it popped higher and you see the give up, the loss of energy and the decline downward, pretty much giving almost everything it popped from. But from the looks of it, it looks that the VIX is recharging for a massive pop coming this week, catching support and rallying from here. The risk versus reward is to buying the VIX right now. At least this is my opinion. And the last chart we're looking at is Tesla. Tesla rallied significantly today, as I explained in the morning, surpassing the first resistance. It struggled just a little bit from a 15 minutes perspective to break above the resistance line. But once that happened, you saw a massive rally, and now the next resistance and the next destination could be at 447. Can it go that high? Yes, it can. Don't underestimate the power of the cult. Yet in the macro scheme, the chart is formulating a bear flag which will generally end to the downside. But for now, the cult are stampeding in anticipation of the revelations from Battery Day coming next week September 22nd. The cult followers of Tesla, of course, they're waiting for Reverend Elon Musk to reveal that Jesus Christ has descended down from heaven, and he is recommending and ordering that everybody buys Tesla shares, otherwise they will not be redeemed in this life or the afterlife. That would be the only reason for Tesla to continue to rally from this point, because the stock is pricing about 20 years of growth. Battery day, 1,000,000-mile battery, 1,000,000,000,000 battery, it's all priced in. How the hell would a longer range battery add more to a company that is valued at $400 billion plus? Meanwhile, it makes no profits whatsoever. The disconnect will be resolved, but remember when we talked about the post-split discussion, I told you there will be an initial sell-off when investors become disappointed of the result of the stock split, when they figure out that they did not get 5 extra or 5 free stocks. However, you will see a recovery from the decline due to the anticipation of important events. Number 1, the Apple event revealing the new products, and Battery Day. And this is exactly what's going on. You saw the big drop and now the recovery, and if you played it right, you bought puts, you made some money, you closed them, you switched to calls, and now you're catching the Battery Day rally, which will most likely fade out, and there will be a shorting opportunity coming very soon. Because when you hype up a name leading to an important event and the stock becomes overpriced and overcrowded, you face the phenomena of sell the news. So this is what we'll continue to watch. It is all about the dollar index, Apple, Tesla, and Nikola. Also, don't forget that we have the Snowflake IPO coming tomorrow. It is very overpriced at this point, but it could add a recharge and a fuel to the technology rally. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
If you found the information presented in this video helpful, please subscribe, press the like button, the notification button, and follow me on social media.